Dr. Brian Weiss, a highly respected psychiatrist, never imagined that his life and career would be transformed by a single patient. In Many Lives, Many Masters, he recounts his experiences with Catherine, a young woman who came to him suffering from severe anxiety, phobias, and recurring nightmares. Trained in traditional Western medicine, Weiss began treating her with conventional therapy, but progress was slow and her symptoms remained stubbornly entrenched. Everything changed the day he decided to try hypnosis to access the root of her fears. Under hypnosis, Catherine began to describe scenes that were shocking to Weiss. Instead of memories from childhood, she recounted vivid episodes from what appeared to be past lives. She described ancient settings, foreign lands, and specific details about different eras that she could not possibly have learned in her normal life. Weiss, initially skeptical, was struck by the consistency and emotional depth of her recollections. Each time she revisited a past life, she would experience catharsis, and her symptoms would begin to ease. At first, Weiss thought Catherine's experiences might be symbolic, perhaps her subconscious was inventing stories to process hidden trauma. But as the sessions continued, it became harder to explain the accuracy of her descriptions. She spoke of events and cultures with a knowledge beyond her education. More importantly, her crippling fears began to dissolve as she confronted traumatic deaths and unresolved pain from these earlier incarnations. It was as if facing and releasing the echoes of those past traumas freed her from their grip. One of the most startling moments occurred when Catherine, still under hypnosis, seemed to channel messages from what Weiss came to call the Masters. These were highly evolved, non-physical beings who spoke through her, offering wisdom that transcended her own knowledge. The Masters conveyed insights about the soul's journey, reincarnation, and the purpose of human life. They spoke about how we are here to learn lessons, often through suffering, and how love, compassion, and forgiveness are the highest virtues. Weiss was deeply shaken. A man of science, he had spent his career relying on evidence and rational analysis, yet here was evidence of a reality he could not explain with traditional psychiatric models. Still, he could not deny what he saw. Catherine's improvement was real and measurable. Her fears of choking, drowning, and enclosed spaces lifted after she relived deaths tied to those experiences. What no medication or talk therapy had accomplished, past life regression was achieving. The more Catherine progressed, the more Weiss himself was drawn into the implications of what was unfolding. He began to see death not as an end but as a passage, a doorway to another state of being. He realized that souls return again and again, inhabiting different bodies and living in diverse circumstances in order to grow spiritually. Each lifetime was a classroom, each challenge a lesson, and each relationship an opportunity to practice love. As Catherine recalled more lives, themes began to emerge. Many of the same souls reappeared across her incarnations, sometimes as parents, lovers, children, or friends. This pattern suggested that souls travel in groups, helping one another evolve. The painful or joyful connections in one lifetime often carried over into the next, weaving a larger fabric of growth and destiny. Weiss saw in this a profound blueprint for understanding human relationships. Why we are drawn to certain people, why conflicts with others feel so deep, and why some connections feel timeless. The Masters continued to provide messages that expanded Weiss's understanding of existence. They spoke of how physical life is only one layer of reality and how souls spend time in non-physical states between incarnations. In these states, they reflect, review, and prepare for the next life. The emphasis was always on growth, on learning patience, kindness, and above all, love. Suffering was not punishment but an opportunity for expansion. Karma, in this view, was not retribution but balance, a natural law of learning. Catherine's healing accelerated as she embraced these truths. Her night terrors disappeared, her panic subsided, and she grew more grounded in her daily life. She began to embody a sense of calm that she had never known before. Weiss, meanwhile, found his own worldview shifting. A man who once dismissed spirituality, he now found himself at the frontier of a new understanding, where science and spirit intertwined. The story of Catherine is also the story of Weiss's transformation. In helping his patient, he himself became a student. He had to confront his own doubts, fears, and preconceptions about life, death, and the nature of consciousness. He realized that his medical training had only equipped him to treat part of the human being, the physical and the psychological, but not the eternal soul. What unfolded in his office taught him that healing must encompass all three. Weiss began to see that much of human suffering stems from ignorance of our true nature. When people fear death, cling to possessions, or harbor anger, they suffer because they believe life is finite and separations are permanent. But if life is continuous, if souls are eternal and relationships endure beyond death, then fear dissolves. Forgiveness becomes easier, compassion more natural, and love the guiding principle. The narrative of Many Lives, Many Masters is not presented as abstract philosophy but through the very human journey of Catherine. The reader is drawn into her struggles, her fears, and the breakthroughs that come as she relives deaths in ancient Egypt, primitive tribes, and early European societies. Each life adds another layer of understanding, not just for Catherine, but for anyone reading. Through her courage to face death after death, she emerges whole, and in her healing, the reader glimpses the possibility of their own. Weiss stresses that these teachings are not dogma but experiential truths. He did not set out to prove reincarnation or metaphysical ideas, rather, they were thrust upon him by the undeniable changes in his patient. For a scientist, this humility is striking. He allows evidence and experience to reshape his beliefs, instead of forcing the data to fit preconceived theories. In the end, Many Lives, Many Masters is both a healing story and a spiritual revelation. It shows that beneath our fears and struggles lies a soul on a timeless journey. The message is one of hope: death is not the end, love never dies, and every challenge in life is an opportunity to grow closer to wisdom. Weiss's journey with Catherine becomes a mirror for the reader's own search for meaning. The power of the book lies in its combination of intimate storytelling and universal truths. Catherine's specific past lives, filled with detail and emotion, draw the reader into her healing process. At the same time, the teachings of the Masters lift the narrative to a higher plane, offering guidance that transcends any single story. This blend of the personal and the universal gives the book its enduring resonance.